What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles. Tonight, this episode is sponsored by Viper HVACR products. Did you know that Viper's NSF registered coil cleaners are a must-have for kitchen maintenance? No risk required, plus Viper's HVACR products were created. Oh no. Wait. Why does it always do this? Sorry. Okay.
He's just trying to say Viper's really, really good, and if you're not using it, you need to start using it.
Every time I go to do it, it goes away. So, plus Viper's HVAC products created by technicians for technicians, ensuring top-notch quality. Viper believes in performance without hazardous ingredients. So, and we're all firm believers in Viper's products. I know I've seen Blake use it quite a few times, and I know Rich uses it all the time too. So,
every day.
So I have a very special guest on. Some of you guys may know him from Instagram. It's Blake, and is it Barkeloo?
Barkeloo.
Barkeloo.
Yep. You got it good. That was very close.
There's only two ways to say it. So what's going on, man? I'm glad to have you on here. We've interacted on Instagram for a couple of years now.
Yep.
You're always on there. You're always positive, upbeat, in a good mood. I love seeing that, man. So keep it up, buddy.
Appreciate it.
So we got Rich. If he can ever get a cigar lit, it looks like.
Basically. Stupid lighter ran out of fluid, it looks like, but I think I got it mostly there.
Keep it on my desk, man. Keep it on my desk. So it's
I got one of those in my closet.
It's an honor to finally have Blake on. I think he was a little nervous, but I think he'll do just right. He's a tech like the rest of us, so we'll just hang out and our normal stuff, shoot the crap. So what's going on, Rich? Anything new this week?
Bro, getting busier and busier. I'm grateful for that, bro. Picking up customers left and right. Got a chain account that's giving me all their stores in the area. Got to deal with a national account doing a bunch of walk-in installs, final connections, the whole nine. Just a lot of stuff, bro. It's going well, going very well.
How's your apprentice already on vacation?
He had a vacation plan before he started with me.
Okay,
He's with some friends. They rented an Airbnb at Myrtle Beach.
Oh, nice. I guess we'll allow it then. We'll allow it. So if you guys don't know, Blake Barkeloo, sorry, I'm going to mess it up every time. He goes by Icedburg Services on Instagram. So if you're on Instagram and you want to follow him along and what he does, check him out there. And I will put links in the episode description as well to his Instagram and to his LinkedIn. So we appreciate having Blake on. So Blake, what's new, buddy? Anything going on major?
Blake's on LinkedIn?
Just service. A lot of service calls. Getting warmer here. Restaurants are getting busier. Trying to keep up with the workload, just like everybody, I think.
So for everyone listening or watching along, where are you from?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Pat.
Where are you based out of?
We're in Orange Park, Florida, is where our home office is. We do service in roughly 14 counties in the Northeast Florida area. And when I say we, I mean me. There's a lot of travel involved on a day-to-day basis. I try to schedule it to where I'm at least in a certain region, so I'm not wasting time on the road. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, we all know that is. Bigger emergencies happen, and you got to go where you got to go.
Exactly.
So, I asked you a few questions before we started, this week when we started talking about doing this. And how'd you get started in trades? I know you were in the Navy. Did you do refrigeration when you were in the Navy?
I did. So when I first got in the military, I came in undesignated, which basically means you don't have a job. They put you where they need you. And I was on the line. So I was directed aircraft, that sort of thing. And ended up getting into an organization called GSE, Ground Support Equipment, where they eventually sent me to a school here in Jacksonville. And that was strictly for refrigeration. So it was the NEC, or your specialty was 7603, and that's refrigeration school. You learn the diesel engine portion of it. I had a 6-cylinder Detroit or a 6-cylinder Cummins. You had to work on the diesel. You had to work on the clutch assembly. Big old receiver. The biggest one we had held 120 pounds R22. Big old receiver. You could isolate everything. 4 TXVs, a massive unit, and it basically supplied air to aircraft before they taxi out, in a nutshell. And then I also worked on generators. So that NEC encompassed everything. I worked in Work Center 930. I did that for 10 years and moved out into civilian world, and here I am now.
So where'd you work at when you came out? When you came out and went to civilian, did you work for a
company? So, it's funny. I had all my I don't want to say licenses, but I had my EPA certification, which almost dates back to the Montreal Protocol, if that tells you anything. So I'm old. I started out with the company doing startups, fire-offs, rough-ins. I think I did a little bit of everything. I did metal duct work. I did commercial duct work, duct board, a little bit of everything. I started out the trade at $8.20 an hour when I first got out of the military, which is insane when you look at what's going on today, right?
Yeah, that's nuts.
I mean, it's if you talk to anybody in this trade today and said, "Hey, I'm willing to give you $8.50 an hour," you might not get a real good response.
I don't think the delivery drivers make that now.
I don't think the guy at the parts house is making $8.50, man. I don't think I don't. Yeah,
I said my parts guy drives a brand new Yukon Denali, so I don't know what he's doing, but
he's doing side work.
What he's doing
for real?
$300 for a dual run capacitor, man.
Yeah, selling capacitors be the way to go. So how long? When did you get out of the service?
I got out in 98.
98. Cool.
Yeah, I did active duty. I re-upped as a reservist. I did a few years with that, and then ultimately got out altogether.
Nice. So how long? Well, you've been okay. How many companies have you worked for before you started your own business?
Lord. I really didn't jump around a lot, man. Believe it or not. I think a total of 6 over a 20 some odd year time span, which really isn't that much. I worked for one company almost 14 years. And we've had Icedburg Services now for 4 years.
Nice. You guys just do refrigeration?
Strictly refrigeration.
So
Yeah.
no HVAC, just refrigeration only?
That's it.
Nice. And you do
in Florida? That's all you have to do. You do ice makers?
I do. A lot of self-contained refrigeration, a lot of specialty refrigeration, whether it be a batch freezer from Stolting, a batch freezer from Emery Thompson, Electrofreeze, Ayler, a ton of ice machines, brand name not specific. It really doesn't matter. They all take water and make it into ice. I mean, nothing's magical about it. The process is the same as long as you understand what order things happen in. You can do it. I think that's really what's kind of cool about our trade, is that you can go from, say, a residential startup tech, and as long as you understand the basics, you can apply that toward a lot of different things in our field.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, 100%.
You can work
Basics
your way.
will get you out of 85% of what you got to do.
And I don't want to be an addict, man. Let's be real.
No,
I mean, I don't miss addicts. That would kill me now. You know, I'm good to get on my hand. You know, I hear it all the time. How do you get down like that? How are you on your hands and knees like that all day? And it's like, I don't know, man. I just get down there, do it. You know, piece of cardboard's your friend in the kitchen, and get down there and get to it.
Yeah, that's for sure. I like, when you're talking about the ice machines, like, they all do the same thing. They all take water and ice. They all use, refrigerant. It's just the principles are the same. It's just, everyone has their own little tweaks. But if you know the basic sequence operations, you can figure it out pretty much.
100%. 100%.
One of the first days with my son riding with me. One of the first days with my son riding with me, we had to work on an ice maker, and I asked him. I said, "Do you know what we need in order for an ice maker to make ice?" He was like, "Water and really cold." I said, "Bro, you're better than half the techs in the field today." Just the fact that you understand that part.
Water,
right?
That plate has to be below 32 degrees.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I think the biggest thing for me being in the trade as long as I have is, I saw a meme right before I logged in, and it says old heads talking about I didn't used to put it on a vacuum, I just purge it. And I sit there and I'm like, man, it's kind of a poke at a guy like me. And then I'm thinking, that's the way I was taught, was blow and go. It was R22. You purged it. If you did that, most of the time you'd open the valves and walk. And, soon after that, we started putting it on a vacuum. It was like, okay, you had the little Christmas tree vacuum gauge, your micrometer, and if you got it in the green, okay, sweet. And now we're, I got it down to 100 micron, and it hit a decay at 100, and we take it serious now. You're working with R290, 448, all these different blends that just suck in moisture and kill compressors. So, it's pretty important. So the industry has really, really changed. The technology has changed from, mechanical to a lot of electronics. You carrying a USB with you, a laptop. I didn't do that 30 years ago. Are you insane? Why do you have a laptop with you, dude?
Yeah, it's amazing.
For real.
You just Refrigeration. Wait till you see some of these combi ovens. They got touchscreens on them. Looks like a freaking iPad.
Exactly. I'm in those kitchens. I did work the hot side for about 5 years, so I do know how to work on the hot side. I did a lot of Pitcos. I did the combis. I did the company I worked for. We were a Middleby Marshall distributor, so I did all the conveyor ovens, mostly Bloomin' brands at that time. So I just choose not to do the hot side, mainly because I wouldn't have the bandwidth to do it. There's only one of Blake, and there's a lot of refrigeration to take care of.
Yeah, and if you're really good at something and you can focus on that and you can make a living and be comfortable and do what you want to do, just do that. You don't have to do it all. I mean, there's no set rules, set playbook. If you're going to do kitchen, you have to do both sides. You don't have to do. I mean, you can do hot, you can do cold, you can do both, you can do whatever. I mean, it's your business to do what you want, but there's enough work out there.
That's for sure. That's
and in Florida, refrigeration is year round. I mean,
exactly, and it's not weather dependent. that's the beautiful part of refrigeration. It's really, it doesn't care if it's hot, doesn't care if it's cold. You know, they're using it 24/7. That thing never shuts off. It doesn't matter. And there is no, well, maybe it'll get a cooler out and it'll get better. It don't matter. That thing is not going to work the same as it's not working right now. It's going to be the same tomorrow. It ain't going to work.
Man,
So they got to get it fixed.
I did a week of work.
Say that louder for the customers calling at 4 p.m.
I did 1 week in Florida.
I started acting up at 8:30.
Yeah, it looked like the an iceberg at 8:00 this morning. You mean 8:00 this morning on Monday, and this is a Friday?
That kills me.
I thought it would work itself out.
They call on Friday night, and it's like, oh, the fans are making a weird noise. There's some ice. I'm like, you get there, and it's like the ice is touching the fan. You're like, this took like 2 weeks to get this bad, right?
Right. Exactly.
This didn't just happen today. I'm like, come on, guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. That's funny. I've noticed a lot of the better techs and the really good techs have come from like the Navy. I don't know what it is about the Navy, but like I don't know if it's just the protocols they have in place to just build like that character or that drive or whatever it is into the people. Because even a lot of the best tech support companies, tech support guys at manufacturers are like former Navy people, and I don't know what it is about the Navy that's churning out people that are really good technical wise.
Shout out to Jay Maiden.
Exactly. I was going to say Jay Maiden's one of the better ones, man. He's one of the best Navy guy. I think he commented on every single post I put out there. Go Navy, go Navy, go Navy, everywhere.
Go Navy, beat Army.
He's a good dude. Definitely fun. If you get active on your LinkedIn and link up with him, he runs technical training and some service stuff for Colpack, and he's a huge asset for our industry. He's always looking for people that do a really good job, and he could probably help you out.
I think
he'll help you if you're in a jam too.
I think to answer that question on the Navy, I mean, everybody in my school and who I served with was either Navy or Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. And the equipment, there were no colored wires; they were all black. You learned how to use a multimeter really, really quick, and how to read a schematic. And when you look at our day to day as far as service is concerned, whether you're working on a walk-in freezer or an air handler at Mrs. Smith's house, it doesn't really matter. Schematic's a schematic. And being able to follow that and understand your meter is going to get you out of a lot of heartache. You got to be able to do that stuff. Refrigeration cycle is not going to change, but the electronic portion of it, again, it has changed. We have digital boards now. We have potentiometers to where before it was just maybe a thermostatic bulb, and you gotta be able to evolve with the change with the industry. You really do.
You're talking about the collar thing. I was working with one of our techs today. We were talking about something, and he's like extremely colorblind. Like he can't hardly see anything. And he's like, man, he said he had to teach himself to read schematics and not rely on color, and that made him use his, like you said, that made you use a meter more to verify where you are and what you're doing. And he said, that really helped him out as far as like, reading schematics and using that meter and leaning on that meter versus just following colors. And that makes a whole lot of sense, especially, when we do the refrigeration at Safesa, we have some mock-ups where you're wiring up a walk-in freezer. It's just a board that's got all the components on there. And when I first time I went down there, I was like, all the wires are red. And I'm like, you're not going to see this in the field. And he goes, I don't want it to be like you see it in the field. I want you to have to actually work and know what you're doing. If I gave you some colored wires, that's no fair. He's like, you could just, collar here, collar there. But they're all red, so you have to actually work and understand what you're wiring and how you're wiring it. So that makes sense.
And knowing the sequence of operation. That's why I tell, any new tech out there is, if you understand sequence of operation, whether it's a combi oven, a fryer, a walk-in cooler, whatever you're working on, as long as you understand the ultimate sequence of operation, you can figure it out. And that's gonna follow with the schematic as well, though. Hey, at this point, it should be calling for the solenoid. Okay, what do I got? Am I calling? Am I open? Am I closed? What am I doing? So it does it'll help you in the service part, not necessarily in the install part. The install guy doesn't care. He's gonna do his process, and then if there's a problem at startup, that's where it's going to go from there.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that makes 100% sense. Come on. So, what's some of the favorite things you work on? I see you working on all kinds of stuff. You do some ultra low temp stuff. Is that what I seen, or was that somebody else?
I think the coldest thing I work on is a hardening cabinet. It's a blast freezer. It's holds at minus 60 Fahrenheit.
That's colder than what I touch.
And that's 404. It's got an old Copeland K body in it. It'll pull down from, say, 70 Fahrenheit down to minus 20 in about an hour. So it's a workhorse.
Dang.
Oh yeah.
But most of my stuff, I would say, is low and medium temp. A lot of food service batch freezers, the custard machines for like your Culvers and other places like that are doing custard. Those would be, I would call those low temp as well. Or you're running anywhere from minus 6 to minus 12 on a constant, steady basis, so you can push your product out.
Yeah, I've never got into ice cream machines or custard machines. I don't really have a desire, I don't think.
It's a different animal. Yeah, it is a different animal for sure. You either love it or you hate it. I would definitely put that in that category.
I got enough dirty stuff I work in. I don't need to add ice cream and syrup.
Yeah, I see your stuff. Yeah, anytime I see Pitco, Frymaster, I already know what you're in.
Yeah, I've got one.
You changing out that cycle pump on a Pitco, and you got to flip that joker upside down, and you're laying on your side. Yeah, been there, done it.
Good times.
Yeah. I haven't done any filter pumps in a Pitco in a while. I'm not the Pitco guy, so that's either my son or another guy. I let them have all the fun with that one. I'll steer clear of that. I'll take care of the Frymaster stuff. Have it. That's the good thing about us is we try to specialize guys in certain things. Some days it's pretty boring, and some days it's fun. It just depends. So. So I see you're always posting pictures and videos, and you always got palm trees in the background, man. I'm always super jealous. I'm up here in Indiana, and in the winter, you got palm trees in the background, and you're wearing, your no sleeve, sleeve shirt, and I'm freezing.
But when we're in August, you can think of us sweating 24/7 if it helps.
I did a week of work in Florida in July, and I wanted to die by 9 o'clock every day. Of course, I got to help. And I'm like, I'll just give this guy all the PM. I'm on Burger King roofs all day for a week straight. I'm just like, I don't want to do this no more. What I said, come down here and help.
Oh yeah, that's brutal. I'm having flashbacks.
Yeah, Rich.
So what I want to know is, what I want to know real quick is this: is Total Tech in the chat today?
I don't know.
Completely off subject, but we got Total Tech out there.
I'm gonna figure out who he is. He got on one of my posts, was causing some trouble this week too.
Is he the one I saw talking? He was a little bit aggressive on one of your posts.
I think he was it on YouTube or somewhere he made a comment that it didn't bother me, but it bothered somebody eventually. So I think it got taken down. I'd have to go look and see which one it was. But he trying to figure out who he is. I asked him his name, and he told me Will Carrier, and I said something to Rich, and Rich's like, Willis Carrier? That's funny. And I was like, oh, I didn't even catch that, man. I need to get Brett Wetzel on it and see if Brett can figure out who he is. Brett likes that kind of challenge, so.
Yo, for real. Brett will figure out who he is, where he lives, how many service calls he runs in a day.
That's funny. So,
what size underwear he wears.
You've been in business for yourself since 2020, correct?
Correct.
So what made you decide that you were just going to make a run for it and do it yourself?
Wow. Honestly, I got really sick, man. Got real sick. And I couldn't do the stuff that I could do anymore. So I had to make a decision. And at that point, honestly, the decision was to stop work. I turned in my truck. I'd worked for this guy for 7.5, 8 years. I loved it, but I just couldn't do it anymore. And then one day I had a guy kept calling me, asking me if I'd run these calls, said he couldn't get this company to do it, the one I worked for. They just weren't interested in doing the things that I did for the company. And said, hey, why don't you start your own business? And sat down with my wife, and here we are. Nice. I mean, in a nutshell.
That's a different avenue. You know, a lot of guys, you know, do it out of necessity, or that's just a goal they've always had. So that's cool.
I thought about it for years, to be truthful, but it just never came to fruition until honestly, it was just God's timing for me. That's all I can say is, I definitely give it all to the Lord. I really do. And there's no other explanation for me.
No, that makes 100% sense, man. It just, everything just kind of lined up the way it should be. That's cool.
Yeah, it's I had customers that were essentially my customers for 15, 20 years calling me and wanting to know, would I do this? And it's like, well, it was a lot more. There was a lot more to it than what I had possibly imagined when I first started. The insurance aspect of it, whether it been your liability insurance, your commercial vehicle insurance, there's just a lot of moving parts when you're talking to a refrigeration contractor. It's not a walk in the park, and it's I haven't done any advertising. We're continually picking up new customers, so it's been a blessing. It really has, and I'm with Rich, man. It's just getting busier and busier and busier, and it's a good problem to have. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Rich can speak on that. The thing is, like, you guys just do what's right for the customer. You just do the best work you can and just take care of your customer, and it just kind of falls into place. And, I think some of these bigger companies, it doesn't seem that way. They get too many guys in there. They get guys in there that don't care, don't have the same values. And it just kind of, people stamp out numbers and just becomes a assembly line versus, a relationship you're building with your customers. So,
yeah, that's what I've been noticing. That's what's gaining me the traction that I'm getting, so quickly. Like I put in my LinkedIn post today, people are telling me flat out, they're like, yeah, I mean, we can tell that you actually care about what you're doing. And I mean, I just finished, I think, my second month in business, I want to say. So it's not even like I've been able to do a say a bunch of calls. I have a few customers that I've done a lot for, but even customers that I've done 1 or 2 calls are like, no, we could tell that you actually, care about our business and you care about what you're doing. And I'm like, I mean, literally that's been my whole thing almost as long as I've been in this industry. Like I keep saying, customers aren't calling us just to say what's up. You know what I mean? They're calling us because they got a problem and they either aren't making money or they're losing money or a combination of the two. And yeah, especially now as a business owner, you got to think, if my van breaks down and I get it to a shop, I need a mechanic that understands that, bro, I'm losing X amount of dollars not having it on the road today. Can you get me, up and running? And it's the same concept that we're doing for our customers.
I'd agree with that 100%. I think that's the biggest complaint, and that's the biggest thing where we get a second opinion. It's like, hey, this guy said this thing's too old to fix. There's a leak here. You get there and it's something stupid, and you fix it, and either the customer's going to stay with you. You take care of them, they'll take care of you. I actually had a customer I had a sit down with recently over some billing issues, and he came at me with, "Hey, you're not a vendor. You're a partner. You're a business partner with us, and your partnership with us is to fix our equipment so we can serve our customer." And that in itself, it's like, you know what? I like that.
Yeah. Dude, that's one of the things that like I'll always tell, especially the staff, not just management and owners, but the guys working the fryer, for example. They're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in your way." That's what they'll tell me, and I'm like, "Yo, like, listen, we're on the same team. Like, you want this to work, I want it to work too. So if I'm in your way, just ask me to step aside. I'll step aside for a few minutes, let you drop that, that order of fries or whatever you're doing, or let you do what you got to do. And then when you're done, just let me know and I'll get back on it. And if we got to dance around each other, that's no big deal. But, a lot of technicians, they get, pissed off. Oh, these people are always in my way. It's like, no, you're not in their way. They're not in your way. Y'all should be working towards the same goal. They should, they want their stuff fixed. And your goal is to get them up and running and get out of there fast as possible. That's why, one of my first service calls on my own was fixing a pizza oven, changing some springs on the door. And I did it in like 10 minutes. And the customer was ecstatic that I was just out of his way in 10 minutes. He didn't care about the bill or anything like that. He was like, "Here you go, run my card. Thank you. Now get out of here." And I'm like, yeah, I mean, we're on the same team. Dude, you want to make pizza? I want you to make pizza. Let's go. Let's get it done.
Mm-hmm.
So this episode's brought to you by Viper, and I see you using Viper products all the time. So what's your go-to product from Refrigeration Technologies?
Man, well, I can tell you I use Nylog on every single call, 100%. That thing is in my bag all the time. I have 3 of those jokers on my truck. I love the spray cans. I actually left one out at a Hurricane Wings one day, and their equipment hadn't been maintained, I think, for 3-4 years. And it looked like a grease trap. It was horrible. I like the foaming product. I think it works really, really well. I try to rinse it as much as I can. I think that gets all the crud out a little bit better even. But I like the fact that they're food safe, especially when you're working in a commercial kitchen. They're like Rich said, they're dropping fries, they're making a pizza, they're prepping food, man.
Yeah.
And if you roll up in there with something nuclear and you're foaming out the coil and they can smell this crap, do you really think that this is safe around my food? They're doing sushi, whatever. And this stuff, at least you know you're not going to contaminate the workspace. You can contain it to where you're at. Mm-hmm. Take care of the customer. Do what you got to do. You're out of their way, and on to the next call.
Yeah, That red
I
can.
use all of it, man. I use the heat shield. Um, I first started using that heat shield around, especially like the electronics and stuff. If they're stupid tight to braise in, and you can't move nothing, so you wrap that heat shield around it, and wet it down, and it works great.
Yeah, that red can of spray coil cleaner. I mean, that stuff's great. It smells clean, but it's not overpowering.
Right.
We just have this product. I don't know what it's called, but it said like lemon or citrus. Dude, if you sprayed that thing in a walk-in and you were in there,
You're dying.
oh, dude, your eyes were burning. We're spraying this stuff on food. I'm like, no way.
Right.
I don't
And
worry
then the
about
fan kicks it over, and it just sprays everywhere in the walk-in. That's the best.
Yeah. Dude, that stuff, man. You walk out, you can't see, you can't breathe, your eyes are burning. No, that red can, dude, just spray it in there, and I shut the fans off, I spray it in there, and I let it sit, and it foams out, and it dissolves, and then once it's kind of dissolved, you can turn the fans back on. You don't have to worry about it.
That's it,
man. It's good stuff.
And I've had more than one customer. They're like, man, I really like the fact that it doesn't smell like a science project in here when you're done.
Yeah, it does a really good job. I do tell everybody, if you're using on evaporator coils, make sure you rinse it out of there.
100%.
I mean,
and it'll go out the pan too, man. I mean, that's the other thing is you're cleaning the coil, you rinse that stuff down, all that debris is going in and out of that coil, and then don't forget to hit that pan with some
pan treatment. Yep.
Pan treatment, and that stuff works, man.
Yeah,
I do my PMs every. A lot of companies do them every 3 months. I'm doing them on a set schedule of every 4. And if I hit, you make sure you get that pan clean the first PM out. If you hit it every time with that stuff, you lose those callbacks, and that's, for me, that's huge. I don't have time to be going back to calls. I just don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've used those tablets in the past, man. You go back like the next PM and it's still in the same spot and it hasn't dissolved. I'm like, well, why are we charging them to throw this tablet in there? It's not doing anything.
Exactly. Or it just so happens that it floats and it clogs up the nipple, and it's like, holy crap, seriously?
Yeah. Yep. So that pan treatment stuff works pretty well. So that's cool. I've been doing a lot of R290 stuff, a lot of tight, small reach and self-contained, and I've been using the heck out of that heat shield, man. That thing works pretty good, man. The insides of those coolers are that blue plastic or whatever it is, and you can just melt that in the heartbeat of a torch. So it does a pretty good job. So I've been using that pretty religiously. That and Big Blue. A lot of leaks here lately, and that stuff, you can't beat it, man. No,
it's definitely a lifesaver when you're working in a tight spot like that.
So I'm a little jealous because you got a set of the JB Climate Class probes before I did, and
I figured you had them before me, man.
I've got they gotta get them all shipped out for all the pre-orders and stuff, man. They're a backlog. I seen a set at a supply house. I went back later in the day, thought about going back and buying it. I went back that afternoon, and they were gone. So those things are flying off the shelves. But so, what's your thoughts on those, man? You like them?
The first job I used it on, I looked at my signal, and I don't know, everybody uses different products out there, and you know what I'm saying right off the bat. The other ones that I used before, which I still have, and they're awesome. They don't, I'm not knocking them. But when it comes down to connectivity, if your signal is horrible, you've got nothing. You're going back to either your analogs or you're going back to a different set of gauges.
Yeah,
with these, you've got the pressures right there. You've got your temperatures right there. So you can chart it out. You can do everything right there. And the first call I did was sketchy service as far as, being able, and I actually took a video of it. I have yet to post, but they work great, man. I use a depressor with it. Or you can use the JB Schrader Polar and hook straight up that away. So you don't, you got your low loss set up right there. You can cock it off. I'm thoroughly impressed with them. And the other thing that I liked right off the bat, working with low temp, is the probes work all the way down into the negatives, to where the other companies kick out, go to OL as soon as you hit to like 0 or -1. And they start getting a little sketchy at 10 degrees, but these are dead. I mean, right there. Perfect every time.
That's good to know.
I need to get me some of those for sure.
Yeah.
I got the micrometer. That's the only tool I have yet to use out of the kit. So I bought the Climate Class kit, and then I was like, I gotta have the micrometer. I know my wife's in there shaking her head, going, seriously.
I'm the same way, dude. I see a tool and I gotta buy it. I just bought the new Vito LBC 15. So I fully feel the tool addiction, man. It's cool. So now I'm anxious to get my hands on that Climate Class stuff. I'm supposed to be getting. I'm gonna go ahead and get a set of the probes and the micron gauge. I was sold on the micron gauge at AHR when I seen how easy it was to change that sensor. So you can.
That is cool.
You can actually, it pops right apart. You can pull a sensor out, change the sensor, put it back together, and be back to pulling a vacuum in like a minute, if that. Yeah. And then you get that sensor out. You can just clean that sensor and just put it in a baggie and keep it ready for when you're ready to change it again. I mean, that's the problem with these micron gauges. You get oil and stuff in there, and you just pour the alcohol down in there. Well, do you really clean it? I mean, you don't know. But this one, you can see the sensor. You can hold it in your hand. You can clean it and put it back together. So that's pretty cool.
I like the idea. One of the biggest selling point for me was being able to hook up my hose to do my charging or what have you without having to put a Schrader tee on there. I thought that was pretty cool right off the bat.
Yeah, I like that fact too. I don't even know what
I'm a little blacked out, aren't I?
It's
he's just hogging the whole screen. Okay, I see what you're doing.
I don't know what I did. I reply back to a comment, and I've jacked it all up here. There we go. So Lee, we are actually talking about the JB Industries Climate Class, their new probe setup. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's got the built-in pass-through on the Schrader, so you can hook a hose right to the backside to charge it. And then they've got actual readout on the actual tool. It's got a pretty cool. You can see on the tool. See if your phone's dead or you don't have your phone, you can still use the probes. And then their micron gauge also has a removable and cleanable. You can field change the sensor, or you can clean it real easy. So that's what we're talking about, Lee.
The other thing I thought was kind of cool was their new product they had out for the Schrader, the torque on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've over torqued a few of them. I ain't gonna lie. I might have busted one or two off right there in the port, and
you only do it. Yeah, you won't.
You do it once or twice, and then it's like, I used it today, and I was like, man, and then it clicked. I was like, oh, that is cool. I was like, why haven't they had this for a while? And then they have the little handheld one that you can just put in your pocket, which is kind of cool. They got some neat stuff out.
Yeah, I've got a newfound respect for them, man. Like I said, I went to their facility and toured the facility, and if it has the Made in USA sticker on it, it's made right there outside Chicago. It's pretty cool.
You said the whole thing is made in their factory, right? Like they got metal and everything. They're not importing a bunch of stuff and then putting their name on it and saying, assembled in America and all that stuff.
No, if it says made in America, it's made in America. Even like some of the other stuff they have bring in, they source American-made companies. Now, some of the boards and stuff, there's no choice. They have to get it over. But like most of the stuff is made in-house. And like they have raw stock fed through the machines of like brass would make their fittings out of. And it's just pretty cool. They have a lot of pride in it. I mean, it was pretty cool to see.
Oh, yeah. I got to get me a set of them climate classes. If anybody from JB is listening, just give me a discount.
The pump. That was the very first pump. And that's what turned me on to JB is when I got out of the military, the guy I was working with, he took me to the parts house. And he's like, you got to have a meter. I bought a fluke meter. You got to have a pump because the company at that time, they didn't supply any of that stuff. So I bought a set of torches, a pump, and it was a JB pump. I had that pump until the day I started this company. And before I had that white truck, I was working out of my personal truck with some magnets on it. And I didn't secure my load in the back seat.
Oh, no.
And I opened that back door and that joker fell out, hit the ground, or I'd still had that same vacuum pump I did. I mean, it was from 1998, 99. And there wasn't a thing wrong with that pump.
Like,
so,
they could have fixed it for you, but
I'm sure. But I had to have it.
Yeah.
So I went out and bought a new pump. I bought the exact same pump. It's I think it's a 5 or 7 CFM with the little cock valve on it.
Nice.
It's not A2L or any of that,
Well, yeah, but
it doesn't have the brushless motor, is what I'm saying.
We use them on R290. I'm not too worried about
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
Isn't all that A2L compatible? Isn't that just basically a marketing gimmick?
No, because I mean, the stuff that I think, look, I think everybody's making way more of this than what there is. I mean, I work on R290 day in, day out. I've had torches on them. I mean, yeah. Do you want to vent it all out? Yeah, be smart about it. Don't be stupid. But a little common sense goes a long ways. But unfortunately, you look in our industry and you go behind some of these guys, and clearly some of them don't have a whole lot of common sense. So they have to do what they got to do to keep everybody safe, I guess.
Yeah,
but
and I think a lot of people are just, like you said, it's a scare tactic, and they're trying to get people to buy new stuff, new tools.
Sure.
I mean, like, I know, a lot of the A2L rated tools are all brushless, like you said. They're DC, so I see that, and I guess now they're wanting 10-foot cords on all of that stuff instead of 6-foot cords. Which, hey, I'll take a longer cord on my pump. I mean,
that'd be sweet. I'm good with that. But at the end of the day, look, R290 it's a class 3 flammable refrigerant. A2L's your class 2 at the best, at the worst, I should say. And R290 is extremely flammable, but yet you have a char broiler sitting on top of it. You got a fryer sitting on top of it. So that has a live flame 24/7. So, how unsafe can you possibly be? There's a lot of precautions I take when I'm working on it, but not necessarily for me. It's for the people around me that when I'm working on it,
I had that video where that one had a leak, and I opened the door, and I show, like, right next to the bank of 4 fryers. Right behind me is a char broiler.
I remember that one.
Stack of gas ovens. I'm like, it's just like, I'm just sitting there like,
right?
Like, well, we'll see. I mean,
yeah.
Dude, my lighter here has more propane in it, than that.
Try to tell people. The cigar
it's
that
like,
I'm smoking right now is more dangerous than a R290 unit.
What is it, like 5.7 ounces, something like that? I mean, it give a good flame for a few seconds.
Yeah, it's supposed to go up to 11 ounces this year. Well, they pushed it back, but it's supposed to have been this year. It's supposed to have been 11 ounces. So
I'm curious to see what they do with that. True. When I started doing some of the bigger low temp stuff on their cabinets, what they're doing is they have a dual evaporator, a couple metering devices on the evap, and then you got 2 condensing units on the same box. So they'll stage it out just to kind of do an end around the 5.7 ounce threshold that the EPA is deemed on it. So it's like
Which in my mind, that's pointless.
I agree. And it's a pain in the butt because now you got 2 compressors, you got 2 condensing coils, you got 2 of everything on one box to where, come on, just go back to the way it was. If you got to put 11 ounces in it, so be it. And another thing they're doing is they'll have the condensing fan motor running 24/7. I don't know if you've run into that. And that's, in their mind, is to dissipate, if there is a leak, to dissipate it out of the air. So you'll see that too.
So when I went to NRA, True had their ice machines, dude, and I think it's the second or third time I brought this up, but that thing is sweet, dude. And they're getting 600 pounds or no 500 pounds out of like less than 5 ounces.
Are they doing 290 on those?
Yeah,
really.
600-pound machine is like 6 ounces, so they can't release it yet, but they had one there. And that thing's doing like over 600 pounds of ice a day on like 6 ounces of R290.
That's awesome. R290 is super efficient. That's what made me really start liking it. The first time I worked on an R290 system, I seen how much smaller the evap, the condensing unit, everything was. And when I did whatever I did to it and I fired it up, I swear it pulled down in probably like a third of the time of an equivalent 134A unit. And after that, I was like, you can't tell me anything. You know, these guys in these groups, oh, R290's junk. This is junk. And they're blaming it all on R290. I'm like, this is the best refrigerant that's been around in my time, I think, in the field anyway.
Agreed.
Say what you want, but that stuff is good.
It is. The recovery on it, as long as that machine's clean and you can move some air across that condensing coil, you're not going to beat the recovery.
You're not
not at all.
You're not clogging up cap tubes like you were with 134.
Nope. Yep. They're not waxing up like 134A was the worst refrigerant if you look at it from that aspect. They're always waxing. Yeah. It was horrible. If you changed out a compressor, you were changing out the cap tube.
Oh yeah. Yep.
If you were smart.
That thing was dirty. If you looked at that condenser coil, it was dirty. You're like, I'm gonna go ahead and quote a cap tube and a dryer.
Exactly.
It's like, well, hopefully, the compressor's good, but yeah, it's R290 is my favorite, man. Like, I hated it first.
Agreed.
Like, everyone tried scaring me at first, but then once I started, dude, I've got a system down, man. Like today, I had a leak I had to fix. I walked in with my tools, my nitrogen tank, my regulator, and a hose, and I cut the high side process tube. I hooked the hose up to the low side port, and I just turned it on. And I walked out back to my truck and started bringing stuff in. By the time I got all my stuff brought in, I checked it.
That's the other thing. When I didn't have to carry recovery stuff into a building to do system work, I'm like, we're good. We're good.
Exactly.
And I'm going to say this real quick, just to be me. Stop replacing R290 with 134. It's not good. It doesn't work. Chris Stevens has a great video on how you're
Please tell me
having
you're
to
not
flood the compressor and the whole nine. But there are a ton of people that right away, they're like, oh, as soon as R290 goes down, I just throw 134 in it. If you do that, you're an idiot. Sorry.
Oh, my God. No. No. Why?
The Facebook groups, man, these guys in those groups, they're like, oh, R290's trash. I'm like, man, you are so uneducated.
And they're like, oh, I throw 134 in it and it cools just fine. Just because it's cooling doesn't mean it's working. You know what I mean? Just because it's cooling doesn't mean it's working. You're trashing the compressor. You got a lot more head pressure. You got a crap ton of flood back. The condenser cannot do its job. So just stop. Just stop.
Yeah. I haven't seen that yet, but
are you in any of the restaurant equipment groups?
What's that?
Are you in any of the Facebook groups for restaurant equipment?
No.
If you join any, you will see it. I promise you, all the time, and it'll be 5, 6, 7 guys all telling you that as soon as it craps out on R290, it leaks. They fix the leak and they throw 134 in there, and I'm like, you're a doofus.
Yeah.
I just tag Rich in them all the time. I'm like, I just tag him. I'm like, he already knows, and we got him and Jason, and he's like, dude, that's ridiculous. I'm like, yeah. I was like, I don't even waste my breath anymore. I tried talking sense to those guys, and
I don't. That's why me, you, and Jason just message each other back and forth about those guys, because they will sit there and argue with you that it's exactly the same and it's safer and it works better. I'm like, no, it doesn't. You cannot take. I mean, look at the size difference in the system between R290 and 134A. How can you, if you understand refrigeration, remotely think that it's going to work the same? There's no logic to that.
No, look at a pressure temperature chart and like compare the two. I mean, it's wild what these guys think they can do. I'm like, man, I'm not an engineer. I'm not trying to figure this out. I mean, can you change the cap tube? Can you do all this and make it a little better? Yeah, maybe. But
and let me retract my statement. There is one guy who's told me he's done that a couple times that I won't call him a doofus because I think he's cool. But besides that, the rest of y'all.
So if you had one thing you could work on every single day and like not like you'd enjoy working on it every single day, what would it be?
I like ice machines. And I like the bigger batch freezers.
Nice.
I'd say batch freezers.
Nice. That's cool.
Mostly because they're different each time. It's not monotonous. You really won't see. I mean, yeah, occasionally you see the same problem twice, but typically it's something different each time. You're still dealing with something that's three-phase, anywhere from 240, 460. But most of the time it's going to be a three-phase machine, and 2 to 5 horse drive motors and a lot of torque and 5 horse compressors. They're fun machines to work on, and believe it or not, I don't eat all the product that you see me. I want to cut. I mean, I was telling before we started, I told you I had all this content, and I've been doing these videos where I'll set the camera up kind of a bird's eye view, and I'll pull it down on the soft serve or the regular hand serve machines, and I have like 30 shots of this, and I had one where I think it took me like 10 shots before I got it right, and I'm just handing them to the customer. I'm like, they're like, what, I'm like, just make sure it's good, temping it out, but I rarely eat it. I'm just,
That's funny. Yeah. Ice cream's a totally different thing, man. Sugar content, temperature, it's a wild thing. I've watched some guys work on some of that stuff. I'm like, I'll stick to what I got, man. I got enough stuff to work on, so that's cool.
There's a lot of variations. You look at, everything from the bricks, the sugar content, to is it GMO free? Is it vegan? There's all these different factors play into it, for your adjustments and your pressures, what you want to set your pressures at. You most of the time you're not dealing with a TXV, you're dealing with an AXV, so you're setting your automatic expansion valve up to a certain pressure for different products. You can set your head pressure, you can set your hot gas bypass. There's just a lot of different things, and they get pretty intricate refrigeration systems. So that's what I was saying, is if you understand sequence of operation, now you can start adding to that, a hot gas bypass or a headmaster or whatever, and make the system do what you need it to do with the pressures that you have to have it hitting to do it.
Yeah, that's cool. So what would you tell someone if they thought about anything in the refrigeration industry or the commercial food service refrigeration side of it, what would you tell somebody?
Go for it. I mean, there's the sky's the limit with this industry right now. We've got, I don't know about you guys, but you go to a parts house right now, it's all guys that look like us.
Yeah.
We need new guys, new women, and that we're seeing a little bit more of these days as well. So have at it. Learn as much as you possibly can, and learn it from somebody reliable and not a hack. Somebody that's putting 134A in a 290 system, you probably don't want to be getting advice from. But I mean, so for being serious, so yeah, it's a great industry. It's something that I've done for over 30 years, and I wouldn't change it. I mean, it's put food on our table for 30 years. I love it. I absolutely love this trade, or I wouldn't still be doing it. And it's constantly changing. It's not something you're not going to do the same thing twice every day. Yeah. If I work on an ice machine every day, like my Monday where you saw the palm trees, well, there's 11 ice machines at that property that I'm maintaining. So there's a boatload of work there.
Yep.
Are you going to run into the same problem if you're running on the same machine? Absolutely. But it's consistent work. It's always going to be there.
Yep. That's cool. We're coming up on an hour, man. I don't want to keep you much longer, but tell everybody where they can find you at. I know your main platform is Instagram, but you want to go ahead and tell everybody.
Yeah. No, first off, I appreciate you having me on the show, Pat. I had a really, really good time. I hope to come back on with y'all as always, Rich. And it's awesome with your business, man. I've been watching your page, and you guys are killing it.
Thank you.
My Instagram handle is _ Icedburg, ICED as in Delta, B as in Bravo, URG _ services _
Sweet. And I will tag him in all the stuff I put out. If you guys follow me, I'm sure you see him tagged on there. But Blake's a good dude. He's always got an upbeat attitude. He's always got a smile on his face. That's what I love to see. I get down on myself sometimes, and he's always got a post where he's smiling. And he's famous for his stories. Keep smiling, and that's always puts me in a good mood when I see that come across. So I appreciate everything Blake does for the industry and what he's doing down there in Florida. We need more people like Blake out there. So
appreciate it, Pat.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.
Ciao.
Night.